Hi, yeah, my name is Joseph Knowles. I'm the Director of Communications at Hatch Entertainment. We're one of the track's co-sponsors today. And we've also been in the cloud gaming business for a little while now. Hatch was founded in 2016 as a spin-off of Rovio Entertainment. We're still a subsidiary of Rovio. We kind of announced the formation of, it had been an internal project at Rovio for quite some time, and then we announced the formation of a separate company at Slush in Helsinki in late 2016. And then we entered an open beta testing of the service in 2017, and spent much of 2018 really optimizing the technical KPIs for the open beta across Europe. Towards the end of the year, we actually released Hatch, sort of publicly in the Nordic countries, the 5 Nordic countries, plus the UK and Ireland, and it is out today for Android devices in those 7 countries, plus a further 11 Google Play early access countries in Europe. Things are moving pretty quickly, and there's been a lot of announcements around cloud gaming lately, from some other companies, and Piers just gave us a very nice overview of kind of the state of things right now, and I guess we're here now to discuss the question of whether cloud gaming is the new norm, and I certainly have my point of view on that, but let's hear from all of our panelists, and I will let them. We'll go down the line, and we can introduce ourselves to the audience here. So, thank you.
Okay. Let me see if it's on. Okay. Hello. My name is Erik Ferencz, and I'm a cloud lead in MADFINGER team, MADFINGER Games team. So we already implement lots of stuff in cloud computing, and we believe the cloud gaming is the future because we do lots of freemium games or free-to-play games, and the model on the cloud gaming will be almost the same as the freemium games. So that's the point.
Hi, my name is Petr Matousek. I work with Erik in the same team in MADFINGER Games. We are both working on the back-end side of our games. So. Well, actually, we don't have much experience with cloud gaming, but as Erik said, we both believe that maybe it could be the future, maybe for some nice AAA games to bring it to mobile, for example. But we'll see what the future brings. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Barry O'Neill. I am CEO of a publisher called Touch Press, and we operated in the premium game space, focusing on kids and educational content. I'm also lucky enough to be based in Ireland, so I've been on Hatch for quite some time, and we're also providing games to Hatch. We're on a number of other cloud services as well, I guess most prominently Kidomi, and another 2 that I can't really talk about, but I'm looking forward to sharing my experiences as a publisher, not a technology provider.
Hi, Chris Cataldi, co-founder, CEO of a company called Genvid. We do interactive streaming technology, so game publishers can let viewers on popular platforms like Twitch or YouTube directly influence the game that they're watching. So it's more of a casual interaction to a hardcore game. I used to run cloud gaming for Square Enix, a company called Shinra Technologies, so a lot of my perspective will be based on that, and we can go from there.
Thank you. So to recap, so we have developers, publishers, and technology providers all gathered here, and of course a service platform like Hatch, consumer service platform. How about first issue? This question of monetization is obviously a major topic here at PG Connects. It's a major topic at a lot of conferences, and the question is how to, sustainably build an audience and monetize your game, and feed your developers while still keeping customers happy and growing your business. So there's how do you think cloud gaming can play a role in driving subscription services and also providing a pathway for premium games back to mobile, which have premium games have largely dropped off the mobile scene in the past few years because it's a pretty tough sell usually. So any thoughts on that, Barry, from a publisher's point of view?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think the emergence of cloud gaming services and the relaxation of restrictions around about subscription across the various app stores have kind of gone hand in hand. Operating in the kids space has been very difficult for us to build propositions around advertising and around or any IAP-based propositions, either because of things like COPPA, which is the U.S. Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, or just store rules, or just that it doesn't feel good for us. So having had a large portfolio of educational games, over 120 apps, all developed as premium experiences, what we found is that introducing them on cloud services developed an incremental revenue stream for us through the fact that we're actually, because we have a large portfolio, we're actually getting quite a lot of share. And we're also, by the way, I should say, we're on the Docomo's platform in Japan too. We're getting quite a lot of share because we've got a large portfolio, and our content is generally using well-known brands. So we have a Disney license, a Marvel license, Erik Carl's Very Hungry Caterpillar, Miffy. So we tend to sort of float to the top in terms of brand awareness and then usage. It has actually also caused us, as we've moved transitioned our own business model from premium to subscription, it has given us a lot of thought in terms of long-term retention. We were never really, or long-term engagement, we were never really overly concerned about long-term engagement with our premium applications, because once somebody bought them, that was it. Our customer lifetime value was exactly $3.99. But with cloud services that are sold by subscription, we're actually having to think about, okay, content updates, refreshes. Think of the launch of the game as just the beginning, not the end, and just the start of the monetization, and try to manage our customer base better over a longer period of time. So it has been good. It's not like, I can say less than 5% of our revenues are coming from cloud-derived services, but this time last year it was 0. So it's actually quite good growth for us.
I mean, I'm hearing a lot of the same kind of things when we talk to publishers, where it's helping them refocus on longer lifetime value, larger lifetime value from longer relationships with customers, and especially for premium, as you say, it goes from a package sale to something more akin to an online MMO type situation, where you want them to keep coming back every month to maintain that subscription. It's in your worth to do that. What we're going to probably see, we're not hearing enough about it now, is a transition from taking back catalog or even current catalog and putting it in a bundle to creating games that are more akin to taking advantage of uniqueness of both accessibility and processing and render that cloud offers. And when you enable that, I think you'll be seeing all different kinds of advantages of how we change monetization. Right now, we're still very much in early days. It's people switching from other platforms to another port, which is cloud, and so you're kind of beholden to subscription plus some monetization after the fact. But yeah, we'll talk more about that, I think, later on.
And Erik and Petr.
Okay, from our point of view, or at least from the point of view of the end user, it will be a huge success. I'm more than 100% sure that people will love it. The only thing is how it will end with the contracts between the cloud companies and game developers and publishers, because there is now the biggest question mark. It's how it will work, because that's a new thing, new system. So I think it will need some time, 2 or 3 years to get it settled, and then it will blow, surely.
Maybe just from gamer point of view that I can offer. For example, for me, I don't see like much sense in playing like simple games using cloud gaming, but I would, for example, like to play really nice games that for which I need a console or a PC or something like that on my mobile phone, for example, or just on the TV in my flat. So well,
Okay.
Yeah, it probably has only advantages, but as I said, for simple games, I don't see much purpose because currently on the mobile phone, most of the games are accessible, because they have free-to-play models. So there's not a problem to download any game, anytime. So if maybe these mechanics will be removed from those games, then it can make sense.
Yeah, well, I think certainly one of the strengths of cloud gaming is that the consumer no longer needs to worry about download size or time it takes to download. So, in principle, you could have a really, really heavy game just sitting on a remote data center and streaming to the end user. Yeah, so I mean, and that could well be, because that is definitely a design constraint in current mobile gaming. You actually need to keep it. You need to keep that download size pretty svelte. Pretty. But I wanted to touch on Barry. You mentioned retention, and you're starting to look at a longer conception of lifetime value. So in a cloud gaming setup where you have the game streaming remotely and there's no need to download, there's no need to install, people can just press play to play. There's with the lower barrier to entry for the consumer, the flip side is there's equally less investment from the consumer, so they can easily just change the channel and try another game almost instantaneously. So have you started thinking a little bit about ways to sort of improve really short-term retention, in games, or because we are kind of coming to this era where people can just, I gave that game a good 20 seconds. I think I'll try something else now. So,
coming from the kids gaming space, kids are the most discerning consumers that you'll find, and they have the most limited attention span. When I'm talking kids, I'm talking under fives. They know where that home button is. So we've always had this issue. Whenever we've wanted to just show that our content is engaging, or even teach people. With our own subscription offerings, non-streaming with subscription offerings, what we've had to do is develop a cadence of content and communication with the customer, also talking to both the parent and the child. With our Disney Coloring World, for example, I think we have something like there's 1,000 combinations of play sets plus drawing that you can do, but there's also new scenarios being introduced practically on a weekly basis to just draw people back in. That helps us improve our in-app monetization, but or rather our customer lifetime value, because either somebody signed up for an annual pass, which means, well, there we go, we've got 12 months of value there, or they're on a month by month, and we're just hoping that they continue to roll. That same content and cadence can translate very well to cloud gaming, whereby you're being paid on a usage revenue share. And what you want to do is get people using that as long as possible, as often as possible, and as much activations as you possibly can. To do that, you just make sure you've got a constant stream of content readily available for the end user.
I mean, what we're seeing is as accessibility becomes more and more of a thing, games as a service or cloud gaming is going to be competing more with streaming content like Netflix and Hulu and things like that. And what they've learned really quickly is that they need original content that keeps people coming back again and again. And so you're going to start seeing a shift towards, I don't even think timed exclusives. You're going to have first parties coming and giving content that's only, I mean, that's what Netflix for games is, right? And everyone right now is talking about accessibility and quick streaming. That is not what Netflix enabled, right? Netflix created new content that was specifically around how people consume, how people binge. They didn't just take catalog. They started with catalog, and then they realized that wasn't sufficient, right? So we'll start with catalog. We'll start with a catalog that'll start having more function or some more features that will keep people staying longer. That's the cool thing about games rather than linear content, is that you can go back and change things up to make it fresh and make it new, as opposed to something that's already been filmed. But what will keep people coming back, and what cloud gaming does have, is the ability to marriage accessibility with brand new functionality that isn't device specific. But just porting catalog is going to have a significant issue because you're not going to know what kind of device. Game creators create games for specific devices, and so once you have, you no longer tie experience with device, and if you take Fortnite that was meant for, or Fortnite's a bad example because Epic made everything, but you take a game that was built for a high-end PC and you stream it to your phone, your phone's UI, the display isn't meant for that. The latency, even on the device itself for input, isn't meant for that. It doesn't matter how good the streaming experience is. You're always going to be caught by whatever the form factor is of the end user device. So that's always an issue that we were always dealing with at Square Enix as well. So it's best in the long run to create new content that has that in mind.
I have to agree with the content, specific content, because also we got our last game, Shadowgun Legends. It's more for the mobile phones devices, but actually it runs also on, let's say, NVIDIA Shield, which is already a console, you know. And so for the mobile devices, we got content which take maximally 2 or 3 minutes. But actually on the console you can play the arena, which takes like 50 minutes. So depending on what you play, on which device you play, actually you got a specific content to it. So that's definitely what will let those people play. Even when the game is maybe a bit different on your mobile phone, it will be different again on your console or on your TV. So specific content to specific people, especially targeting, is also another issue, because you have to target the right people to play the right game, of course. So.
And also, maybe there can be some games that will be problematic. We will have problems with this subscription model, because I can imagine like some long RPG game, you know, has much more issues to compete with some shorter games with shorter gameplays where can change the content frequently and so on. I think the same issue is in music streaming industry, where with typical, if you publish some song into the streaming service, it's much easier to monetize than, for example, podcasts, you know, which you simply listen to once and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, original content is definitely something that we think about at Hatch a lot. And of course, we have a Hatch Originals publishing program. We announced the first game last month at Slush. It's called Arkanoid Rising. And there'll be more on that coming later from us. But when we were building that game, we knew from the beginning that it had to have the visual design language and the mechanics to work both on phones, tablets, and TVs, which sounds like, you know, quite a challenge, and of course it is a design challenge, like any game, but I don't think it's an insurmountable challenge, and especially I think we can see with the success of the Nintendo Switch that the best performing games on that platform, you know, they have a design language that works for both the little screen and the big screen. Of course, it's not a like for like comparison, but I do think that as long as the design challenge is well defined, then I think a developer can rise to that challenge. That's what I believe anyway. But I think we're getting low on time, and I think this is a good time to open up the floor to questions. Would anyone in the audience care to ask about the pace of cloud gaming adoption, different types of cloud gaming services, how we might, you know, what are latencies like in cloud gaming? I think that's a big question I get a lot. You know, as I like to play shooters, and I can't ever think of cloud gaming because, you know, the aliens will destroy Earth before I can get a chance to fire back. So what do I, but at least I can speak on that one. For, you know, we have this Arkanoid Rising is actually, you know, it's kind of a showcase cloud gaming game because it is an action game with real time mechanics, you know, and where latency is critical. So, yeah. But anyway. Any questions?
Yeah. I wonder about the audience here with cloud gaming. I mean, do you really see this in your data? Do you see people like playing first-person shooters on a bus, or are these games really meant to be played on a couch? Like,
Well, would anyone like to answer that question first before I do, or? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, in Hatch's experience, I mean, our audience is very similar to the mobile game, the general mobile gamer type profile, and of course, we know that most mobile gaming happens on the couch. Actually, it's kind of a myth that people do it on the metro or on the bus. Of course, in America, nobody rides public transportation, so and you can't really well play games while you're driving. So, I mean, we find that our most engaged. So over the course of our open beta and then the public release for the past couple months, I mean, one core insight that we have picked up is that our most engaged users, our loyal users, they play about 7 games a month and they complete them. And so this means that they actually like to play shorter games. So I think one concern that I've heard before is that, hey, I like to make short little story-based experiences, and if you're measuring success based on gameplay minutes, then my little short indie game that only takes 2 hours to play is going to get hosed. Whereas somebody who makes a really deep RPG with tons of content, or if you have a really deep game with multiple core loops and you just keep going back and you're never free, you're just on and on and on. Actually, those games don't perform so well for us because, I mean, if you think about it, what do you need a service like Hatch for? If that's the game you like to play, you just need that game on your phone. So, if you're just hooked on one game, then just get that game. Why do you need a subscription service to a whole buffet of games? So actually, we do see that our top performing games are completable, like Monument Valley, for example. It's about 90 minutes, and a lot of people play it, and most people finish it.
I mean, I think you'll see that not just cloud gaming, but mobile is taking on more non-mobile gaming features, right? So you're seeing games like Knives Out and all of these battle royales and games that you would think up until now would only be PC console. And if you look in China, Japan, in Asia in general, you're seeing a lot of activity on those mobile. So I can see that transfer to cloud as well very easily. One thing that you said I thought made a lot of sense is that at the end of the day, the consumer's not going to care about the technology. They're going to care about the why they're there, why are they subscribing, or why are they using this service. And so the less they have to think about technology, the better, right? We're talking from a technology vantage, but it's going to be the games they want to play, and then where can they access it, and where the developers are going to have another shot at being accessible to the market, right? When Us2 is going to you, it's that they want another bite of that apple, because the App Store, once you're off the top 10, how do people find out even fantastic games like that?
Yeah, I think the ideal consumer experience and the ideal consumer for cloud gaming shouldn't actually think that they're cloud gaming. They should just think they're just gaming. One of the things that we've found is that from a consumer experience, it's the combination of cloud plus subscription, particularly for, let's say, low capability or low capacity devices. Kids' games are huge. We've got some games, if we look at our Disney titles, we probably have 2 or 3 gigabytes worth of content that needs to go into that game over time. Similarly, our Hungry Caterpillar application, 600-700 megabytes of content. So you're looking at a family that have bought a 7-inch Kindle Fire with 16 gigs of memory on it. Cloud is perfect for these, and also it's a simple single monthly subscription, and everything just works. So they shouldn't think it's a cloud experience. They should just think it's a great experience.
And plus, from a parental perspective, you're in a gated, once you're in that app, you can stay in that app, and you don't have finger wandering from app to app to getting to whatever internet. You really are trapped in a good way. You're protected there as well.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Yes. iOS. This has been a big barrier for a lot of the cloud services, which is a concept of a store within a store, and how streaming sort of falls under that. Any views on that from the Hatch perspective?
Yeah. So from the Hatch perspective, we are working on an iOS version of Hatch, and it's compliant with their guidelines. I mean, it's basically Hatch is a premium content service, subscription driven, and there's already many examples of those on the App Store today. So none that cover games, but we're not an app store, and we could never compete with an app store because we have a very kind of tightly curated collection that and it also has this Hatch level social functionality and leaderboards and features that only work inside Hatch. So and we're talking about a service with hundreds of games, not millions. So we could never ever compete with an actual real app store that has that is publishing hundreds of games a day. I
think just the memory of Big Fish's experiences still is a little bit raw for a lot of developers and publishers. And maybe thinking has moved on since then in the powers that be.
I think the powers that be have definitely evolved on this question. And when we first started, that's a question we got a lot before we had actually started or gone to market in any way. The first question was, well, what about the big gatekeepers on the app stores? And Google Play saw our service, and they said, how can we feature it? So they gave us featuring through early access, and they have really been super supportive of what Hatch is doing, and we focus development on Android because we're a small development team, and we do one platform at a time, and basically once we make the technical KPIs bulletproof on one platform, then we can easily port to other platforms. So iOS is coming later, but
subscription makes that really easier, right? Because you're not competing. You're not doing a transaction within it. It's easy to do rev share on that.
And also, I think a major security concern and a absolutely legitimate security concern is apps that download additional binary code to your device. That's a real security red flag and alarm bell. And of course, when you're talking about streaming, that doesn't happen. Yeah. There's no binaries coming down at all. So you're just streaming media. So.
Actually, we as a developer, we are very looking forward to streaming because we got lots of problems with the hackers on our games, and we have to cope with lots of platforms, lots of devices. This will completely get out of the way, and actually, because we are game developers, we would like to more concentrate on the game content, not on this stuff, but actually we got service which check the performance of different devices and everything. This will be out, and even the whole structure of the game will be easier to implement, So, thumbs up for it, yeah.
There are a lot of players who decompile the binaries, change the codes, and it's very hard to do something against this, especially in multiplayer games. And yeah. And also, I'm wondering, are there any games that really make use of this advantage that they are running in cloud? For example, I can imagine that when you are building a multiplayer game, you can build like a whole server and client into a single binary, and then you just have to solve how to render all the stuff to all the players.
I did that before. I mean, once you do that, you no longer have to do any kind of synchronization. You can create all kinds of crazy physics. Square Enix owns a lot of patents around that, probably under an older DirectX architecture, so it might be different now. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of crazy stuff you can do with that. Yeah.
And for example, how would it work for development, for example, regarding the payment for the service? Because it can be quite demanding to run everything on the cloud side, and I can imagine that for us it will rapidly decrease our budget if like all the servers can run in the single instance. Yeah. So. Yeah, I was just curious, like if how does it work for the developer? Like if we just publish the game and we don't have to pay for the service. We just share the revenue from the subscription, or if we have to pay for the service for servers if they are very demanding on CPU.
Okay, so I can't speak for other companies, but for Hatch, so we provide all the back end for online multiplayer, and you know, and we have you know, it costs us money obviously to run our back end. But you know, we don't discriminate with developers. You know, basically every game is treated, you know, like so. Our revenue share is we give 70-30 revenue split in the developer's favor of net revenue. So and by net revenue, I mean we subtract the hosting costs. So and the hosting cost is targeted to be no more than 5% of the total revenue. But this basically means that to do an online multiplayer game, in effect, if you can make a local multiplayer game for 4 controllers, the architecture is exactly the same. You put that game on Hatch, you know, and we can map the different controllers to different users, and take care of the matchmaking and all that, and you can. And basically, you know, create a real-time online multiplayer game as if you had made it for the couch.
Yeah, no net code needed, right? That's what's cool about it.
Yeah. So no network programming. You don't have to invest in your own back end. This suddenly makes online multiplayer dramatically more accessible to particularly the smaller developers, even big developers that don't want to make the investment. So.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I think we are. I think our plane is landing now. So any questions, any final questions?
Well, thank you.
Okay. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, also.